Hello my gorgeous loves out there and welcome. In today's video I'm going to be ranking palettes I recently tried. I think I have 13 here to go over, and I'm just going to give you guys all of my final thoughts on them since I got a chance to try them several times. But before we get into this video, if you're new here, hello, welcome. My name is Bree. I'm a crazy lover of all things beauty. I love to post a lot of fun, colorful makeup content, and I like to do a lot on indie makeup. So if that is what you're into, then please hit that subscribe button and join this little family. But with that being said, let's get into this video. So I have tested a good amount of palettes recently, and I think all of them are pretty good or really good for the most part. I don't have any duds within these 13 palettes. A few things that have a little bit of quality things, but overall I think they're all really nice palettes, and I'm going to rank these based on just personal preference, color story, versatility, how often I gravitate towards them and want to reach for them, do they bring something new to my collection, just various things like that. Now I do have a little bit of a background difference if you notice. I think I'm going to do a beauty room tour soon. If you guys are interested in seeing that, you definitely have to let me know in the comments below. I actually finally displayed my perfumes because I'm also a perfume lover. So just wanted to mention that if you noticed that. But I think we should now get into this ranking. So at the bottom of the ranking, which it's a nice palette, high quality, love this brand so much. But the reason why it's at the bottom is because it's an all matte palette. And that's typically the case with an all matte palette for me. But this is the Melted Matte palette from Beaute Bar. And this has a lot of like brown, warm, orangey tones, some little neon pops. It's a little repetitive, I'm not going to lie. But the quality is there. It's pigmented, it's blendable. And I really more bought this to do like build your own palettes because I have a lot of singles that are shimmers and I don't have a lot of single mattes. I do have some colorful mattes, but I was like, you know, I could use some nudie mattes, some little neon pops. So that's the main reason I picked this up. Also because it was very discounted, and I was also able to use a discount code on top of that. So, you know, the lower price also got me. And overall, I really do love Beaute Bar's formula. I just wish that there wasn't as much redundancy in here, a little bit more variety. I don't know if I necessarily needed this many tones of brown and like orangey and like pinky shades, you know what I mean? I wish that they mixed it up a little bit more, but I still really appreciate the formula and what it will bring to my collection, especially with my singles. But that's why it's there at the bottom, because I am honestly at the end of the day a shimmer lover. Okay, shimmers will always win for me. And then going on to the next palette in the ranking, which there's a few formula things in here, a few things with the color story that I wish I could change, but it is the Snow Angel palette from Simply Posh Cosmetics. Overall, I think this color story is beautiful. I love my cool tones. I love blues, purples, and these kind of shades. Now, the thing with this one is, well, the thing with all of the palettes, I think, from Simply Posh Cosmetics is I don't ever think there's enough range, especially amongst their mattes. Sometimes the palette just doesn't go light enough with the mattes, and sometimes the palette doesn't go deep enough with their palettes. And this one is just needing a little bit more depth. I just wish it could go deeper, if that makes any sense. Like we have this one, but it's not deep enough in terms of for my liking. I love a lot of smoky looks and stuff like that. So for me, I wish that there was a little bit more of a range in their mattes. Also, the shimmers in here, some of them are starting to hard pan, and that has been an issue with some of the palettes I've tried from Simply Posh, especially like their older ones. They hard pan so bad that I just stopped wanting to use them. And I just hate when shimmers do that. So I don't know if like these shimmers in here were a little too firmly pressed and started to form hard pan. Also, these shimmers are more like sparkly toppers, and I don't mind having a sparkly topper in a palette, but I don't want all of the shimmers in a palette to be sparkly toppers. They're quite sheer to the base, and I just prefer shimmers to have a little bit more pigmentation, or at least have more variation in the shimmers in the palette that I am using. And so that's why I put this more or at like towards the bottom of the ranking for those few reasons. And then the next palette in the ranking, which is more of a monochromatic palette, so that's why I didn't rank as high as things that have more color options, more versatility, but it's the Enchanted Elixir palette from NBA Cosmetics. It's very purple, and I knew that that's what I was going to get going in, but because I could only really do like a warm tone pinky purple look or a cool tone maybe bluish purple look, but that's all I can do with this. And that's fine because this is meant to be a monochromatic palette. And I knew that going in, that's what I was going to get from this. But if I'm ranking this against other like palettes that have tons of color, it's just not going to rank as high because I like having a lot of options within my palette. But this has really nice quality. It's really well done. The mattes, they're a little bit more on the buildable end, but they build nicely. And then the shimmers are stunning. I think that's where MBA really excels at, is with their shimmers. Now, the one thing with the shimmers here is they all lean more on the darker end. Like these four are all more deeper to the base. And I wish that there was a little bit more variation in the depths on the metallics. This one does shift quite blue, and then they have this lighter one, but I wish there was like maybe one more lighter shimmer, maybe one more mid-tone shimmer in here. And then like these shift the same. They look different right now, but in person I can tell they have the similar shifts to them. And then, you know, it just, there's more depth to these. Maybe these actually end up being similar, even though this is more of a satiny shade. And I wish that this matte went a little bit lighter, that I could use it as an inner corner highlight. It's just not a light enough for my skin tone. But the formula is excellent, and I love a little monochromatic purple palette every now and then. So I still really appreciate this one. That's why it's like not at the bottom, you know? Then the next palette is from Simply Posh Cosmetics, and I like this one a little more, so that's why it's a little higher up. But it's the Cozy Cabin palette from them. It's a little bit more warm, but there are cool tones, so I really like the variation of colors in here. I think it's like really versatile. You can go warm, you can go cool, so I love that about this. I do wish that this palette would go deeper, even deeper than what is the deepest in here. It just doesn't translate as deep like that on the eyes. And I also wish that this would go even lighter too, because these lighter pastels are just not light enough to use as brightening shades or inner corner highlights. I just wish it was a little bit more pastel. Now the shimmers I like even more in this palette because there's a little bit more pigmentation behind the shimmers in here. There are a few that are starting to do a little bit of hard panning, but overall I do feel like the shimmers in here are a little bit softer press in the pan than the Snow Angel one, and overall I just gravitate to this color story more. So that's why I put it up above the Snow Angel palette, because overall I think I would probably use this one more than that one, which is surprising. I just think the versatility and the quality is nice, but I still have to pull in another palette to get an inner corner highlight. So I can't use this as a standalone palette either. So that's why it's a little lower on the ranking. And then we're going into this other monochromatic palette, but because I'm a sucker for this color and I think the shimmers are out of this world, I had to put it up a little further, and it's the Moonlight Realm palette. I am a sucker for greens. Greens are my favorite color to wear on my eyes. So an all green palette will always make me happy. I like the range of this one too. Even this shade right here can be an inner corner highlight for me. So it does go light enough, and I just love these different metallics. Like they have like different shifts. There's this light one that kind of goes more pinky, some that are like more purple, more blue shifting. So the variation of the metallics are nice. There's mid-tones, there's lighter shades, there's deeper ones, and the mattes that they provided in here are perfect. They go with any of the shimmers in the palette, and it's just my green lover's dream in here. I just love the shimmers. They're just so intense and foiled and just striking on the eye. So even though I can only do like a green look with this, I'm just really impressed by the quality that is in here, especially with the shimmers. But I could not like put this as high as some other palettes just because I can only do green in here. But I knew that going in with buying. But for ranking sakes, I had to put it somewhere. And then for the next palette, which is a more nudie palette, it's a big one. And I'm like truly a color lover, but every now and then I like to dabble in nudes, or I like to mix nudes with color. So I still appreciate a nudie palette in my life. And this one does have some like color in here and some muted color tones. So it's the Smoky Glam palette, but this is the original one, which I actually prefer over the new Smoky Glam palette, which I just featured in like a comparison swatching video. If you want to check that out, I'll put it up in the corner, link it below. But this is full of nudie tones, and it is quite repetitive with some of the shades. I don't know if you needed this many versions of gray. Did you need this many version of like these light tones? Maybe not, but I mean, it gives you a lot of options. I love that there are some purples in here, some pinky tones, and some grayish like greens as well. So it makes the palette a little bit more versatile than the normal kind of nudie palette that you would get from a lot of brands. Now, they did do the revamp and pared it down, but then I feel like they ended up making it a little bit too monochromatic and more of like a berry palette than what this is as a glam palette, you know. And they took out like these beautiful greenish tones, and I didn't love the variation and the direction that they went with the new revamp. I still think this one, to me, is personally better, and the quality is still just as good. I think maybe the shimmer is a little bit more sparkly and flaky in the new one. But I did put this below more colorful palettes because I like a lot of bright, bold looks. And this is going to be more of a smoky, muted kind of look at the end of the day. And there is some redundancy with the mattes and even some of the shimmers that lean more like silvery. These kind of look the same. These both are like quite pink to the shift. So if there was a little bit more of a variation, I think this would have ranked up even higher because I do appreciate this kind of color story. Then the next palette in the ranking, which is a bit monochromatic, but there's a little bit of variation in here, but it is a beautiful, stunning, striking palette. And it is the Dead Roses palette from Beaute Bar. Now this one is like, you know, purples, pinks, and berries, which this one is my preference. I feel like the smoky glam, the new one, is like a muted version of this. But the shimmers in here are so stunning, so shifty, sparkly, vibrant, beautiful, intense. You have like some that have more greeny shifts to them, more blue shifts, some pink shifts. So what makes this palette so interesting is that these shimmers are just so shifty and intense and vibrant that they really make your look pop. And then because they have different shifts, you're gonna get a different look with all of these different shimmers in here. There's a good range of like depth and midtones in here. Maybe I wish one thing I would add is like maybe one more lighter shimmer would be nice, or maybe if this went even to a more pastel pink, it would have made it even more of a like fan favorite. But the thing is, I can really just do pinks and purple looks, mix them up. So it's, or maybe even like a red look. So it's a little limited on how many looks that I can do. But for a Valentine's Day theme, for these like berry, red, and purple tones, I think this is an excellent palette for that. And it's a little bit more, you know, versatile than like the NBA Cosmetics ones. And the shimmers, oh, the shimmers are so beautiful in here. And that's why it's like right in the middle for being a little bit more of a kind of specific color story. Then the next palette in the ranking is a very sultry, smoky little one. Well, not little, it has a lot of options actually. It's the Blend Bunny Cosmetics Beauty Below. I love the variation of tones in here. I love that you can see like these little monochromatic like little quads, or it kind of just gives you an idea of a look you can do, but then you can also see a look going this way and, you know, down this way. So you have a lot of things you can do with this palette. You have a lot of options of going either like fuchsia and pinky, or green, or purple, a little murky, a little bit more warm, a little bit more periwinkle, and leaning into the cool tones in here. It's a very sultry, deeper kind of color story. And, you know, being a deeper color story, I have to pull other palettes in to get some brightening, some inner corner highlights. None of this works as an inner corner highlight for my skin tone. So if you're me, even maybe a little more tan or deeper skin, or lighter than me, I don't think any of these would work. Even if you had a really deep skin tone, I don't know if any of these could truly be inner corner highlights. Maybe like this peachy one, but overall it's leaning on the dark end, but that's the theme of this palette, to be like dark, murky water kind of vibe to it. So it's not a standalone palette for me, and that's why I didn't rank it as high as some other palettes. But I think the color story is excellent, and it's beautiful, and it's vampy and sexy, and it's a really nice one. I like the formula. I think the shimmers in here are a little bit more sparkly than some of their other palettes, and the mattes are amazing as usual from Blend Bunny. And then we're going on to this one from a brand that was like new to me that I just like recently started trying. It's Artitude Cosmetics. It's the Metamorph palette. I think this is really beautiful. I've loved the look I created on like a get ready testing makeup I did on this channel, and then I've used it a few times off camera, and I think it's really beautiful. I like the variation, and this is what I mean when I asked for a palette that has a good range of depth with their shades. There's deeper tones, mid-tones. This can work as an inner corner highlight. It's very pigmented. And even with the shimmers, you have lighter shimmers. If you want to go with like an iridescent shifty one, you got this beautiful limey green that works as an inner corner highlight. Some of these have really intense shifts. These are like those black based multi-chromes that are just so intense in the eyes with the shift. And you have like cool tones, and you got purple, you have some grayish tones. You can do a good amount of looks with this as well. You even have some nudie tones thrown in. And I thought the quality was really nice on here. Now, the mattes are a little bit more on the buildable end, but they're workable and you can get them built up. And surprisingly, this one is quite pigmented. And then you have these beautiful, stunning shimmer formulas to work with. I think Artitude Cosmetics is doing a really good job with their palettes that they're coming out with. I love them and I love the variation. They really nail it when it comes to like variety in a palette and giving you a good range of depth and things to work with in different formulas. So that's why it's like a little higher up. It's like in the top 5. So this is a good one. Now we're going on to the 4th spot in the ranking. It's the Basic Witch palette from Beaute Bar. Honestly, I didn't think I was gonna love this as much as I do. Like online, I kept looking at it and I didn't immediately gravitate towards it or felt the need to buy it because I thought it was gonna be really similar to all their other palettes, but it was different enough once I started to try to compare them. And I like the vibrancy in here. I like the fun, bright pops. And I do think you could do a good range of looks with this. You can go warm, pink, green, purple. You can mix them all up. You can go quite warm. You can go quite cool. And there's a good range of depth in here. The mattes are beautiful. The shimmers, yet again, are striking because Beaute Bar knows how to make beautiful, gorgeous, shifty, sparkly shimmers. They are so good at this. And I'm really like into this color story. I gravitate towards it and I like get excited when I look at it. I'm like, ooh, do I want to do like a green look? Do I want a green pop? Do I want to go purple? Do I want to go like really pinky? Like I get inspired by this palette and I just wasn't expecting to love it as much. And I do feel like it's different enough from the other Beaute Bar palettes. So I was actually surprised by this. So it's pretty up there. Then we're going into number 3 in the ranking. And I'm actually surprised that I put this at 3, but the quality is just so good. And it's the Beaute Bar Pastel Garden palette. I love me my pastels, and it's not always easy to find a super good pastels from brands. And I think Beaute Bar did a great job with their pastel formula. They're very pigmented. You have every possible pastel you could think of to work with in this palette. Now, I do feel like there is a little bit of a repetitiveness in here. I don't think the palette necessarily needed to be this big of a pastel palette. I really do think that they could have sized this down a bit, but I still appreciate having all of the options. I love that I know like I can go in here and be like, ooh, what kind of yellow pastel do I want? What kind of orange pastel? What kind of green? Do I want a more warm like green? Do I want a more bluish green? Do I want a periwinkle moment? And then I think the shimmers are really beautiful in here. Some are quite shifty. You do even have this one that's a little bit more saturated. And I think this is nice. Now, I think that this is not going to become my #1 pastel palette. I just don't think it can replace Sickly Sweet from Blend Bunny because that one has like deepening shades in there, so it's a little bit more versatile. If I don't want to do all pastel, I would have to go into other palettes outside of this if I wanted some depth in it. And I just think the Sickly Sweet gives you everything in terms of like having depth and a good range. But I love this and it's a great option if you're looking for a palette with just all the pastels you could need, like your go-to pastel palette. I think this is a really good option and the quality is excellent, and I think it's really hard to make good pastels, and Beaute Bar has done that and gave you a massive range of pastels, and that's why I put it up there, because pastels aren't easy. They really aren't when it comes to mattes, and that's why it's #3 in the ranking. And I love me Beaute Bar. Now we're going into #2 in the ranking, and this one's a little bit more muted, a little bit more nudie, but somehow it has a chokehold on me. There's just something so stunning about this, and it's the revamped Minka palette from Adept Cosmetics. I've loved all the looks I've done with this. It's like super glam. And I do feel like they really have elevated this formula from the original Minka palette, which I still love. I still have in my collection. But it did have some thick, chunky shimmers. And here the shimmers are a lot easier to work with. But man, they are so sparkly. There's some holochrome effects in here. And if you're just wanting to look glam, like you just wanting to look sexy and sultry and glamorous, this is the palette for it. If you're wanting some intense shimmers, and you do have a little bit of like a aqua moment, you have some berry moments in here. Now the mattes lean cool tone, but I could totally see myself also pairing this with other mattes in my collection and going in for these shimmers because they're just so sparkly and on the next level. And like I said from the beginning, I am a shimmer sparkle lover. I could do an all shimmer look and be a little happy camper that way. I don't necessarily need mattes, and that's what gets me in this palette. Like, it's just so scrumptious, it's so beautiful, it's so sparkly. And I think this would be so good for like a wedding look, or if you're into more muted looks. It does lean overall more cool tone, but it's gorgeous. I have to give it a kiss because I really, really love that palette. And then at number 1 in the ranking is What's on My Eyes. And you probably would not be surprised because I really did rave about this in my like, you know, trying and testing it out video of this. But it's the Drops of Fantasy palette from DedeSignature. Now, I did receive this in PR, but this is my honest, true feedback. This is really how I feel about this palette. It is so beautiful. It's so fun. It's so colorful. It's so vibrant. It just makes me very happy to look at it. It's my kind of color story. I like the variation. It has a good range of depth. It has a good range in the shimmers. There's so much sparkly goodness. I think this one leans kind of like a holochrome, which is on my lid right here. And then the mattes are really beautiful. This neon is pigmented. This is pigmented. This is pigmented. I mean, like, all the mattes are really good in here. It's just a rainbow little sparkly dream. I think of rainbow sprinkles. I think of summer. I think of happiness when I see this. And I'm a color lover. I love a lot of brightness. I love a lot of pops of color in my looks. I can use this as a standalone. I can also pair this with other palettes. I want some colorful pops to go with whatever look I'm creating. I gravitate towards this a lot. I think it's beautiful. And look at this look. It's not overly like intense. It's like a little bit more muted with a fun little like peachy pops. You can tone it down a bit, but overall it's colorful. Okay, it's gonna be bright and fun, and it just it's me in a palette. It really is. It's summer in a palette. It's my energy. This is my energy. Rainbow. That's what you're gonna get from me. I love a lot of bright, fun color, and that is why it is number 1 in the ranking, because it's just me. It's just all me right here, and I love my color. I love my sparkle, and I think the formula is excellent in here. I highly, highly recommend. And I forgot to mention, I do have a code with DedeSignature. It is Breezy Beauty. It will save you some money off on this or anything you pick up from their site. It is affiliated. I do have one with Adept as well. It is Breezy Beauty, and with Beaute Bar. Breezy Beauty. My codes are always in the description. They are affiliated, but if you're ever wanting to pick up things from these brands, you're welcome to use my code. You don't have to, but if you do, thank you so much. But that was everything for this ranking. That was all of my thoughts on all of these beautiful palettes that I've tried, and I really enjoyed all of them. But you guys would have to let me know, what are your thoughts in the comments below? Did you try any of these palettes? Did you pass on them? What do you think? I would just love to hear from all of y'all. Also, if you're new here and you enjoyed this video, you like a lot of fun, colorful makeup content, you like a lot on beauty and all that good stuff, then please hit that subscribe button and join this little family. I would love to have you here. Also, don't forget to check out the description below. I will have all the palettes linked. I will have other videos of mine you might be interested in watching, as well as my makeup links in case you're curious, my codes like I mentioned, and I will have my contact and my social media platforms linked. I'm also on Instagram as Breezy Lifestyle and Breezy_Beauty. So if you want to join my Instagram fam, I would really, really love that. But guys, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, for being here, for supporting my channel, for being amazing. I just appreciate you guys all so much, and I hope all of you are doing well wherever you're in the world, and just sending you guys so much light and love. But until next time, bye guys.